Welcome back to episode 54 of the Block Runner podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
Good to be here.
And today we're going to be interviewing Nathan and Sebastien from the Sandbox. And we're just going to jump right into this.
Briefly, before we start, hey, Nathan, you look pretty young. I'm just curious. Were you around with the company since it's like early days in 2012 when they were like a mobile game so you could...
No, I'm not.
No?
So I joined the Sandbox last summer.
Okay.
Um,
Is it okay if we
and I joined.
ask questions like, about that, time for the company, go back in time a little bit, and will you be able to answer those type of questions, or should we just focus on what's coming up next for the Sandbox?
So I can give you a rough overview of what the Sandbox is coming from and the IP and the company behind the Sandbox, which is named Pixel actually,
Pixel.
and the company has been doing video games for about 8 years now, developing mobile video games with various IPs that they leverage, and famous ones such as Adam's Family, also Garfield, Snoopy, like some famous brands like that, and some other games with big video game brands. And the company Pixel has been acquired by Animoca.
Yeah.
Animoca Brands, which is a Hong Kong-based company listed on the Australian exchange, and that was I believe 2 years ago, a bit less than 2 years ago, and it's about the time where Pixel decided to leverage their existing IP, so the Sandbox, which was a Sandbox game on Sandbox mobile game that had a pretty good success with over 40 million downloads on mobile, and worked pretty well with a wide reach. And 2 years ago, the company decided to focus and to leverage this IP with a focus on blockchain technology. But it comes from the realization that all the creators that they had on their platform, the mobile game, were creating stuff, but creating stuff that did not belong to them. And blockchain technology could enable them to actually own their creations. So that's where the idea came from, and blockchain technology, and specifically Ethereum, appears like not an obvious use case, but a very convenient technology to solve pain points that were facing the creators that have been working and using the Sandbox IP on mobile.
Interesting.
So for a little background,
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Yeah, the reason I bring up the history of the company, just because, as you mentioned, you have pretty much a successful track record of onboarding users and how to maintain and grow a user base. So that's obviously going to be a big, I wouldn't call it obstacle, but I guess a big part of how to get users comfortable and familiar with the cryptocurrency or blockchain version of these types of games. There are some barriers to entry for a lot of people, such as the Ethereum wallets and stuff. They're going to need to download and integrate into their experience. So I guess, can you maybe talk a little bit about that, how you guys are approaching that obstacle?
Yeah, sure. So it is indeed a native barrier to entry to many. The fact that you have to use a crypto wallet is kind of complex and new to a lot of people. To most people, actually, most game users, gamers are not used to such technology. But so we do have this challenge of educating our users to using those tools. But I think we're also trying to allow all the neophytes, all the people that the newbies, basically the newcomers to this technology. We want to we provide them solutions that will not require them to understand specifically the technology, or like we use a single sign-on solution called Bitski, which allows you basically to connect on your account to sign up on our platform without even having to touch any crypto. You just
so you could
sign
use
up like a
credit card, for example, or something like that.
Yes, you can already buy crypto with your credit card on the Sandbox.
Oh, okay.
And you can do that through Bitski, which is this single sign-on solution.
Okay, great.
It still requires you to kind of understand why you need to buy this, crypto called ETH. We were based on the Ethereum blockchain, so I think we try to make it accessible to the masses, to make it accessible to anyone that wants to sign up and get a glance of what our platform is. But I do think that to understand deeply our value proposition and what we genuinely offer to those creators, they will need to dig in a little bit. But we also believe that once they enter the platform, we want to be kind of like a rabbit hole for the gamers to enter the blockchain space. So we allow the masses to enter via like easy solutions, like single sign-ons that anyone understand, and then we'll provide education to them as much as we can. And of course, we'll try to replicate, user experiences from other platforms so that they don't get lost too much. But of course, we will need to bring a lot of education to our platform for anyone to understand, and that's also part of our vision. We really want to bring the masses to this technology as well, that we strongly believe in. So this is we acknowledge the fact that it is a challenge, but we're very much aware of it, and it's part of our vision as well.
So Nathan, let me give you a little bit of our background and understanding in blockchain gaming. We're pretty big in Decentraland, and we developed our own application that allows other landowners to deploy content that allows them to earn a passive income. And so our audience is pretty much understands, like we're getting a lot of like feedback that our audience really likes the metaverses, like us talking about the metaverses. Yeah. And I'm curious as to, because I feel like the Sandbox is a good model to onboard brand new players into the space. So I'm curious as to how much, is it difficult to have players and users understand that the assets that they're interacting with in a game can be officially owned by the individual player? Like, is that like a huge boundary to cross for players to understand that the assets can be owned by them instead of, an otherwise centralized game where you collect an armor and you think it's yours, but it's really not?
Yeah. So interesting question. I think so. It might not be very obvious at first. When you enter on our platform, on the Sandbox, what we call the dashboard, so the main website, basically, you have access to the shop where you can, as of today, you can buy assets that will be, part of your wallet. You can also, we just basically finished the second round of our land presale where you could buy land. And those tokens will come into your profile, etc. But so when you do this, when you purchase these assets, you do not necessarily understand that it is, it is yours. It is actually you are the true owner of this asset. But once you start to go into your MetaMask account or your Bitski account, you start to see your public address that lists your tokens, and then you go to OpenSea and you see that, it's interesting. I see my assets that are listed over there. Or you go to Etherscan and you see, oh wow, this is like a public database where I can see all my assets. Wow, okay, so it's not only on the sandbox; it's kind of everywhere. So I think at first it might not be obvious, but when you start looking around and understand that you can even sell your stuff without having to go through our platform, that you can look basically your wallet address pretty much everywhere, that you can also sell your asset, buy other assets, that you will also interact with the platform. I think people understand that. So that's one point. I think the fact that it's basically public and accessible through many different tools, etc. And one other point is that we also try to educate users about that. So we wrote content to amplify this fact that actually true ownership, interoperability are like values that we do think that are genuine added value again. And so we're advocate of this. We're present in all the NFT conferences, events. Also, we try to write about it. We do podcasts about that. We're talking now in interview because also that's something that we believe we believe in. So that's something that we talk about and we try to educate our users about as well.
Yeah, because another reason why I bring that up is because Iman and we grew up playing video games, just I'm sure like you did, Nathan. And we grew up with like Nintendo, Mario, Halo, World of Warcraft, all that stuff. And even when we were introduced to the concept of blockchain and then the concept of blockchain gaming, it wasn't exactly easy to comprehend that we can own land, right? And I think that is the major selling point in a lot of these metaverses, is that we become the owners of these assets. And one of the questions that we have is, in your opinion, isn't there a financial incentive to keep games centralized for the creator of the game? Because there's probably a better way to earn money at higher volumes in a centralized game than it is decentralized. Am I wrong in thinking like that?
No, it's true to some extent that, of course, like if you're centralized, you're able to capture all the value going through the platform more easily. So it's in addition to that, like if you're a decentralized platform, what we sell, like the lands and the assets that we sell on and we allow people to buy, we maybe not able to capture all the value, the secondary sales value, basically. So in some sense, of course, we're not able to monetize, the as much as we would have done it through a centralized platform.
Sure.
So I think in terms of capturing the revenues of things that we issue, indeed, it can be less important. However, on the other hand, we do believe that it can attract traffic from many other platforms on our platform, and that's also through interoperability, in the sense that it is open, so people do whatever they want with their assets. But it also means that they can import assets from other platforms into ours. So we might compensate in the long run. We might compensate what we lose in the fact that people can resell on secondary sales all their assets, in the fact that they potentially can also import a lot of assets into our platform as well.
I see.
Yeah.
So what do you
mean?
That's
a way to see things. But of course, to answer your question easily, it might be harder to attract and to retain all the value going through the platform. And so I'll interrupt you guys because I have Sebastien joining us.
All right. Okay.
So yeah.
Sorry. Hello.
Hey, Sebastien.
Sorry for being late.
No worries, man. You're good.
Not a problem. Yeah, we were just getting into the nitty-gritty details of the sandbox. I guess we might as well just start at land, the base layer of the metaverse, right? I guess explain to us, because we come from a Decentraland background, so we know a lot about what the value of land is, but I guess a good question to ask you guys is what's different about your land? Whenever I purchased, by the way, I purchased some of your pre-sale land, just to let you know, and I noticed there's like some textures or maybe minerals or something incorporated. Some kind of I saw like maybe like dirt and water and stuff like that in your land parcels. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, well, so thank you for participating in our land the second round and maybe the first round of our land pre-sale. Congratulations for being a landholder.
Thank you, thank you.
As you could see on our map, you can put your own logo on some estate and start customizing your space.
Yeah.
This is the first step of showing that this is really your part of the metaverse, and you'll be able to customize and publish your game experience on it.
Mm-hmm.
We felt it was important as a first step already on our platform, and before we are going to add we are going to enable the landholder to be the first creators using our game builder to publish their games soon there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is part of our roadmap. The thumbnail you can see with dirt, etc. So we have a gaming background. We've been developing the Sandbox IP for close to 8 years now, and maybe as you saw already on some of our promotion materials, the idea is we have a certain aesthetic in our metaverse where creators will be able to place both blocks and voxel-based entities in a no-code drag-and-drop approach, and they will then already generate gaming experience without any scripting, coding, etc. It all comes to life as easy as this. And so the visuals you have is a preview of an example of the nature world that can populate your landscape. That's why quite often we say in a simplification, like we are sort of like a Minecraft on the blockchain, where creating is playing. You interact with blocks, you interact with entities. These entities have already their own behavior, so anyone can start creating. But later on, in the next year or so, we'll also have visual scripting and even custom coding that enable more advanced users to create even more customized experiences, leveraging the behavior we implemented and offer even changing the parameters and more, creating potentially more interesting experiences.
So that means you'll be enabling a software development kit?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a SDK. We're really like you enter the game builder, you start creating and playing with the game builder. So it's still a B2C product. It's not meant to be B2B. But some of our partners are clearly game development studio, both traditional and both blockchain gaming studios, and they'll be able to use our metaverse and publish game experience created using this drag and drop approach to host their community, social meetup, and complementary experience to the games.
If I may, Sebastien, we were telling Nathan that we have a little bit of a background in Decentraland, and I'll share some of our experiences. That way, you can take the little nugget of information and see if you can implement it with Sandbox. And we've seen in Decentraland they have a builder where basically anybody can build a creation and deploy on their land. But what we've seen is that Decentraland also has an SDK, and that SDK seems to perform better, have more unique experiences, and it seems to me Decentraland is a little bit more set up for an SDK. And I have a feeling that with the capabilities of blockchain and all these decentralized metaverses, is the capability for the development community to come in and start generating unique experiences that wouldn't otherwise be capable in other games. And for one is one of the games that we created for Decentraland is one that can earn a passive income to any landowner that deploys that game on their land. And so we've had people buy these games and deploy on their land and become very successful. And to me, it seems that the unique experiences created by the development community has a lot of value than experiences created by a user that may not have the technical skills to come up with something as unique as, something that you would be otherwise create with a software development kit.
Well, I think like both Decentraland and ourselves are pioneers in the space, and so the value proposition of Decentraland is unique. It's quite interesting, and it's great that you have been already able to benefit from it through the software development kit and show some possibilities of what it could be. And it can be quite successful as well. And I'm really looking forward to the upcoming public launch of Decentraland on February 20th as well. We've been knowing the team for a long time, and of course, we wish them all the success because we are all together.
Sure.
Many companies, Decentraland, Crypto Voxel, Somnium Space, etc., building a new value proposition or even multiple value proposition to the users and showcasing the potential of blockchain technologies. I think in the case of Sandbox, our approach has been slightly differentiated. We as a platform, we are proposing several tools. The first one has been the Voxel editor, where artists can make 3D models animated and publish them on the marketplace, tokenize them, and have a utility for these 3D models turned into game items through our game maker. But we are seeing now more use case for it. For example, game developers could start making 3D voxel model, publish them on our marketplace, and use them inside their game as part of the interoperability offered by ERC 721 and ERC 1155 non-fungible tokens. So that's also an interesting use case that we start to explore. And we are, I believe, really content focused, which for us is quite interesting and is part of our experience in user-generated content, where we not only provide the environment where you can build a game, but also now you can create your own elements following specific behaviors and use them inside. We are I think it's important based on the background of the Sandbox IP. So when we say we are leveraging our experience with Sandbox IP, we've been developing it for 7 years. It's not just we are trying. This IP has a certain history, a background, a way where, as a user, on the mobile phone, when I was playing with over 500 elements and drag and dropping them on the screen, and I can start seeing them interacting. Coming to life, animals moving, water flowing, etc.
Yep.
It's already something unique that you couldn't find in other games, and we're trying to translate that from 2D to 3D, multiplayer, single player to multiplayer, and single platform to multi-platform, with really the empowering all the users on our platform through the true digital ownership, and that's something I believe is proper to Sandbox IP, and we've put a lot of attention into that. Like, it's not for good reason. It's the third episode or third product from this franchise. The simplicity of creating, the accessibility, the content first approach as well, and now empowering creator. We actually are we started launching a pre-sale last week on February 11th. Land part sold out, as you could see, but we also have been featuring and selling 10 user-generated content as assets, NFTs, made by the artist, and through the smart contract, whenever a user or creator purchase those assets, the payment goes directly to the artist. We don't receive any payment, just a small commission, transaction fee, sorry. So we are already at this point of time where, true to our promise, we've been empowering creators. The first one, the artist, who contribute to the content on our platform.
Right.
Then now, as the game builder is coming closer and closer to a public alpha release, we want to showcase what is so unique about making games with Sandbox, inspired by the history of our franchise. And it's going to be different from your experience from Decentraland. And it doesn't mean that you, as a game creator, you should not do, you should be only doing one or the other. We think that
Agreed.
you have now more and more opportunity to choose from and see which could take maybe give you more revenue, or all will give you revenue.
Sure.
Can be fun as well as social experiment where you'll be playing with others, chatting with others in the land you own, etc.
I'm curious, Sebastien, the user-generated content, the voxel art that people are creating, are they all ERC 721 or 1155 tokens?
So they are already ERC 1155 tokens.
1155?
Yes.
Okay.
So the lands are ERC 721. Each land parcel is unique because it has a unique location.
Mm-hmm.
But the assets are backed by ERC 1155 standard.
Okay.
A standard we are one of the three main contributors together with Engine and Horizon Games.
Yep.
So when I was looking at the
there's the option potentially to actually extract an ERC 721 out of it, if you like. But
yeah,
as we are seeing more and more adoption of ERC 1155, it's already supported by OpenSea Marketplace, and
Mhm.
wallets, and more games.
Mhm.
We think it might not even be necessary, and it's paving the way.
Yeah. When I was evaluating the asset marketplace, the user-generated marketplace, I noticed each individual asset has its own rarity element to it. So I'm assuming the creators themselves, they assign or mint, I guess, the number of assets that they want to exist. How is that determined? Is it just up to the creator to say, let's say I spent a long amount of time making a very detailed dinosaur. Is it 100% up to the creator? I just want to release one of these to maybe minimize the, it's not as difficult to sell one, right, than it is to sell 1,000 of these things.
Yeah.
Is that how the system operates, is to give the creator all that flexibility?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, is there an incentive to create only unique voxel art, or is there some kind of gameplay that the creator might have in mind that may necessarily facilitate creating 1,000 of these?
Right, that's a great question. If it was only an aesthetic element, then it would be quite artificial, and those will be just 3D models. They will not be what we call game items. What makes this asset actual game items is they have attributes. Right now, we have 5 standard attributes per game asset, which are speed, attack, defense, magic, and wealth.
Oh,
then
interesting.
These attributes will be used in the game builder to define how in the game they will behave. And so as a creator, an artist, in order to mint, so to upload to our marketplace and turn this 3D model into a game item and define the rarity, which allows me to assign more attribute points to either of those 5 attributes, I will need to consume gems. Gems are also tokens. They will be ERC20 tokens that can be found by players inside the games.
Interesting.
And so creators will need to trade with the players who are giving their time to find the gems. Then it allows what we call a circular economy, where every actor in our ecosystem.
You just went mute.
This sounds eerily similar to something we've talked about before on the podcast. But yeah, Sebastien, we can't really hear you anymore. He's muted?
Yeah. No, that's a good...
This is great. But this is great to hear because...
Yeah, we've been talking about a metaverse We've been talking about a metaverse where the users go and mine some kind of rare material to collect for some given incentive, and I think that's exactly what you guys are doing with the Sandbox,
or with the gems in
with the
particular.
gems.
I think what's most important is like us, or we believe is what's going to be the main, I wouldn't call it selling point, but what's going to keep users coming back to the platforms that we're creating is what you just said, a closed loop economy where people can not just spend money on content that they enjoy, but there's potential to earn as well.
Exactly.
So it's like a second life existence within the metaverse. You know, you
could
make an earning there. You could spend your earnings on whatever you want. So to hear that there's
that's on the way. I mean,
or it's already built into the platform is great.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, it gives us an incentive to jump in and start collecting these assets.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear.
I think it will be it will drive like a meta game for players to explore all sorts of games and find those gems. Game creator can increase the production of gems inside their land through staking sand inside the land and some other parameters that we're still defining to have a right balance of gems production overall across the metaverse. And we're even expecting to see users come up with decentralized exchange solution where they will by themselves starting to value the gems and based on supply and demand trade it on using Uniswap, Kyber network, and this sort of solution. Just like we started seeing, for example, in Axie Infinity, users trading love potions through Uniswap, I think. And it's quite interesting then because it brings also DeFi into gaming through that mechanic.
That's interesting.
And even in the future, we'll start finding players trading secondary in-game currencies or resource cross games. So love potion traded with gems, for example, can be a way to attract players to one another or justify that an economy, an open decentralized economy that goes beyond just one game, but
this is an important mechanic. Do you want to talk about your experience with World of Warcraft and how addictive that type of gameplay is?
In what aspect? I mean, there's so many different elements to it, like the what part?
Mining, collecting, and grinding to collect what you...
Ultimately, it's the sense of achievement you get from these type of MMO experiences. You know, there's different elements to that, whether it's grinding or just as a collective goal to achieve some type of
to defeat
reward,
a monster,
like a reward or something like that, right? There's always Blizzard, Entertainment. They've maybe not invented, but they perfected the formula of addiction, I guess is what you'd call it. So. Yeah. But why?
No, it's just like incorporating that type of mechanic in a blockchain-based game. Like imagine had World of Warcraft had been built on the blockchain, all the time that you spent collecting all that armor and that gold and all that stuff, it would have had like tangible, transferable value versus like right now it's just an account that if it gets hacked, it's gone, or if the company goes down, it's all gone.
Correct.
Right. With blockchain, we have a different opportunity.
Yeah, and we were mentioning like how much a centralized platform would have captured more value. We do think that in that sense, and World of Warcraft is actually a great example because it's actually the first example of a worldwide meta currency that has value outside of the game. That people were buying gold, and you might have done it. I was a bit too young to buy gold at that time, but I felt it, and building currencies and building strong economies around blockchain games can, in that sense, capture the value of this economy that would have been outside of the economy, like in the case of World of Warcraft. It was kind of cheating the economy when you were buying gold, like to mining, like gold mining companies and people on like outside exchange, and Blizzard was not been benefiting from this in any way. And in our case, we could actually get this money back into our economy. So I think it can balance the fact that we are to some extent decentralized, or at least the assets we issue, and I think it's a good balance. I mean, there is a good balance to find here.
Nathan.
Additionally,
go ahead.
I like the comparison that you just did with MMORPGs, because we think that MMORPG with their mechanics where you can have quest, side quest, trading of currency on centralized marketplace, unfortunately, for the one that allow them exchange rate based on that, and guilds, clans, common goals.
Yes,
those are all game mechanics that many players playing traditional games are used to and should be part of blockchain game as well, specifically metaverse-based, virtual world-based blockchain games. So these are definitely topics and gameplay mechanics that we are going to implement to have meta gameplay, to have multiplayer social experience, and find ways to create common goals and mechanics where we could have faction or clans or guilds trying to potentially conquer the space, or have side quests that go beyond just creating game and playing game. That's really something we're exploring at the moment, and it will define our vision for Sandbox Metaverse for the several years to come.
Quick question. I am curious, what can you describe like an example of how one would collect a gem in the game? Like what would you have to do in order to collect a gem?
I mean, that's left up to the game creators, right? It's kind of like a reward incentive that they can implement into their games, I'm assuming.
So gems are ERC20 tokens. They will have infinite supply, but it's capped on daily basis, and it's going to be capped based on certain variables, such as the amount of sand that will be staked overall inside the metaverse, and then based on the distribution in the land, then your land has a higher likelihood of generating gems than others, for example. And we think the user experience of finding the gems for the player is probably related to coming in the game and finding where the gem has been spawned inside the game. So there's also a gameplay behind that can be like sort of hide and seek or exploration meta gameplay beside playing the game that the original game creator has made.
Gotcha.
Although we're still exploring with the mechanic, and what I shared is like the original vision we have with it, which we might tweak as we implement it and see if it's actually fun like this or we want to improve it.
That makes sense. So if you own land, then there's a potential to generate gems because you own that land, and then from the player's perspective, they can go and explore to potentially find more gems. Would that be correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Then what defines, like let's say Iman here, he purchased some land, but where do you have the more likelihood to find these gems? Like, is that have been established, or is it just like a random opportunity based on how many lands you have? I mean, how does that work?
I think we are still preparing the first public launch of the game platform, and because we are user-generated content, what we are putting a lot of attention at the moment is on which game experience will be available at launch from both creators and land owners such as yourself, and the different partners that we have announced across our two first round of pre-sale, such as Shaun the Sheep, such as different blockchain gaming companies that have announced they will be working, they are joining our Metaverse and building with us. So first and foremost, let's make it fun to explore those land and play in this land as the regular gameplay before we actually define how the secondary gameplay, or
Sure.
like what's the meta game behind, is around finding gems. We've started to experiment things also related to the avatar, the third-person view. I shared some videos, we shared some videos on social media already, and we're starting to see also good feedbacks and people commenting about it. So in a way, we think it will be very collaborative with the community, and the way they give us feedback on, oh, this is looking great, or oh, you should make it more like this or like that, is also going to contribute a lot to the way we will implement the feature. Like finding gems in games should be something fun. It shouldn't be
Absolutely. Like a
mining
grind.
or farming job.
Sure.
I think.
Sure. By the way, if you
we have to work with users to achieve the fun.
Sure. By the way, if you guys need to jump off because you have another meeting or whatever, just let us know and we can end it. So just let me know. One of the other questions that we had is, will the parcels that you have be able to be merged together to create an estate, and will those estates give you a larger benefits?
So absolutely, it's the most requested feature at the moment. People who have adjacent land but were not lucky enough, or this came a bit too late based on the pre-sale to get the larger estate.
Mm-hmm.
One of the features we're going to introduce, hopefully by the next pre-sale, or if not one right after, is to enable users to merge adjacent land into a larger estate. What that will allow essentially is to create bigger game.
Yes.
And so you have more space for your creativity. Although that if you compare the space available that we make available in Sandbox to the other metaverse, we are already one of the largest plots, with each land being equal to 100 square meter.
Oh, wow.
So that's already quite...
that's pretty large.
It allows to create quite interesting worlds, large enough for fun in a 1x1. And the larger estate will be even more fun, specifically as we'll have a multiplayer mode called co-building, where you can invite friends into your land and create together using the elements and blocks that you will authorize access to.
And that brings another interesting question. Like, for new users who just enter the metaverse, what's the spawning process for them? Is there like a central hub where all beginner players will generate from, or do they individually select what parcel experience they want to participate in and teleport directly to that location, or how does it work?
Well, one thing that the Sandbox Metaverse has is it's not a single persistent world like Second Life was, or World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a series of hundreds of thousands of game experience, each one being differentiated, and that you access using your avatar. The avatar being the common element that is being shared across all these worlds. So you have your own character that you can customize. He will be an NFT, and you will be able to use to enter all the different game experience. Now, you could see that we have a dashboard as part of our platform with a map.
Yes.
This map will become the main point of access to this metaverse. Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to search games, filters there, preview the games with a thumbnail, etc. And through your search, you'll be directed to different spots on the map where the games you're looking for are located. Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to see not only the game that you were looking for, but also all the adjacent games around with the icon, etc. Mm-hmm. And from there, you'll be able to choose which one you want to enter and play on. Larger estates are more eye-catching, so they are more likely to grab your attention on this process. Additionally to that, the different sandbox lands, that the blue spots on our map that we get, are going to act as well as social hubs where you'll be able to enter directly with your character and meet with other players there, chat, and potentially as well access different game experience through portals from there. Now we also will have additional mechanics for traveling the metaverse with your avatar and exploring it in different ways, which we are still working on and haven't yet announced. So this will be, I think, accessible through many ways, both from the dashboard and from the in-game metaverse, and I think it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now, and I see how. Let me see if I can share just so that you see what I'm talking about. But I see how people are starting to. It looks like they're merging, but I think it's from the perspective of like just the map. And in the map, you're able to put your own logo on the land itself. And I thought this was a really good idea. And so these larger estates here, they've been purchased by, I'm assuming, like larger companies who have already an idea of like what game to create.
So you see some different categories here. So the blue ones are from the sandbox, the reserve. So basically the lands that we keep for giveaways, for partners as well. And so the partners that we've secured, so we've secured more than 35 partners. Among those, you can see like Old Skull, Shundership, Maker, DAO, CryptoKitties. So many partners. We actually, have a partnership with them. So most of them actually, receive a land as part of their partnership in order for them to build inside our metaverse. And others, such as the big one that you see, like Mind Fund or the WS ones, are ones just by who has been bought by users and that basically changed their logos. So this is a feature we implemented into this round of pre-sale that is potentially likely to have some improvement in terms of design, but basically it's user-generated logos. So some of them are partners, and some others are, just big estate owners that just, uploaded their logo there.
One thing quite interesting that we saw gaming organically is this logic of neighborhood. People feeling like by being close by from each other will already start discussing what they could build together and are really genuinely excited to be just nearby.
Yeah.
We also saw some what I would call crypto wealth users who've been generous enough to actually already give visibility to some projects they like by offering them the logo to promote their project, even though they are the actual owner of the land, of the underlying land or estate behind. So those are some kind of use case that we are really excited about and think will hopefully become even more mainstream as we'll be releasing more and more lands across the next pre-sale and until the platform is publicly available. So right now, what you're seeing is only 7.5% of the total map supply of Sandbox. You have on the right side this icon where you can see a mini map if you click on it. This expand icon on the bottom right. And from there, you can start exploring what would be the full metaverse size. And
all the dark.
Yes, exactly. You can see it's actually just a small portion of the whole that will be made available.
I see.
And we have
so this is essentially the center.
Who, but we have big gaming company coming in our next round. And this is, again, very promising for the future of the metaverse and blockchain gaming in general.
Interesting. Okay, so then basically for the next pre-sale, we need to pay attention.
Yeah, it seems like the land that's already sold is probably going to be the most valuable.
Yeah, just because it's closer to the center.
Yeah, just speculating, right? You know, what's more valuable and what's less valuable. I mean, it's all valuable, but this is what people do when they invest in land. They think, you know.
Yeah, speculation on which is going to be valuable.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen that week that over $1 million in total has been spent by landowner and people with crypto across 3 main projects, which definitely shows that there's excitement about the potential around it.
Mm-hmm.
We've positioned ourselves to be the most accessible of all the metaverses, with prices of land starting with current discount at only the equivalent of $30, and choosing a non-auction based approach so that all lands of similar size are always the same price independently of their location. And it's really a first come, first serve approach where anyone can get a chance to get it where they want, as long as they are there on time when we announce, when we open after we announce the pre-sale. And generally, the feedback we receive from the community is overall positive about our approach and the user experience of buying the lands when the pre-sale have started.
Okay, great. I guess our last question that we want to get into is kind of like your decentralization approach or your governance approach. Like how hands off are you guys going to become, if at all, in a future version of this? Once the the metaverse is actually launched and the community is generating all the content or creating the games, what's your role as a company within that at that phase of the roadmap?
Yeah, so to begin with, we need to start with a pretty hands-on approach.
Yeah, of course.
Because we have to, on a technical level, we need to be close to what's happening, and we do not have the yet released, the potentially the technology that allows us to be hands-off. So just for that reason, we need to be hands-on. Another good reason is that we will need, and we will always need, some kind of human intervention in the creation of what's happening.
True.
Because it's a user-generated content platform, there will, the people will basically create what they want. They will basically upload all the logos they want. So we need to make sure that they do not, they respect the rules, and they do not import things that that cannot be featured on our marketplace, and that respect the values of the sandbox. And you can imagine what we don't want to feature on as logo on our metaverse. I'll let you guess, but so we do need some kind of curation, and I think it's a great question, by the way. And moving forward, we'll try to indeed decentralize the process of curation, because there need to be some curation, as I've mentioned. And the further we go, the more decentralized we are going to be, and that will involve complex systems, such as curation systems, potentially decentralized curation systems, for the community to in a decentralized fashion vote for the content that will or will not be uploaded on our platform. But that, again, implies some technological advancement that we're not ready to deploy as of today. But so to answer your question briefly, yes, we'll move toward a decentralized way of working. But as of today, it's not the case, and we need to create the content.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. You're at the beginning phase of all this. I mean, this isn't going to just appear out of thin air. You guys have to create the act. You have to get the ball rolling, essentially, and everyone understands that.
Like in a user-generated content platform, what we like to say is content is king, and the platform is queen for the distribution. So our experience is we are working with curated. Well, we launched the Creators Fund and the Game Makers Fund to have very high quality content made by artists that we've trained and approved and following specific guidelines, so that when we launch, everyone entering our metaverse can already see, play, gaming experience, or buy on the marketplace content that will inspire them and will be of high quality, setting the trend for what will come next from the user-generated content perspective. Now, beside the DAOs around curation, I think on a more midterm to long-term vision, we also discussed the idea of having users setting up decks to trade out some of our in-game currencies like gems. That's one thing. And going even further, I do believe that as a platform, we're layering the ground through the ownership of the asset and the games for potentially more MMORPG sort of game features. Like you can definitely imagine clans being built and DAOs happening based on the ownership of specific assets, and you can only enter this clan if you did actually buy this or that asset, or if your land is located within a certain region. And there's always two ways to approach it. We can either try to build ourselves all the applications through our dashboard to enable that. But if we also expose the APIs and we organize hackathon and we have developers who are knowledgeable enough about blockchain, they will come up with this kind of ideas and application built on top of it. We can already see in other metaverse projects like visualization tools for maps and price of the maps for the people who are buying lands there. And we can already see, for example, there was Cheese Wizard game, and there's someone who created Cheese DAO, and based on the ownership of certain assets, then it gave you right within the DAO to participate in clans, etc. So I'm actually genuinely interested and excited to see how we'll be surprised by what the community of developers will build on top of this first layer that we are preparing, and what can come from this.
So for us, if we want to contribute to this world right now, we can do a Voxel art and then just purchase land, and that's for now. That's what we can do, correct?
That the most direct way indeed to interact with Sandbox Metaverse is to download Voxedit at the moment and start using the different templates that we made available, start painting them and then changing the shape, keeping the skeleton, and figuring and submitting potentially even project IDs to our Game Makers Fund, so we can give you an earlier access to the build, so you will be able to experiment how to create a game around it.
Yeah, that's
because
all
our games are going to be essentially content driven. Like the two ways to make game with our no code approach is to change the shape and the look and feel of the environment, and to place content with specific behaviors inside.
Gotcha.
And you might think those are limitations and you would want more, but what we found with our experience also is that when you give a certain framework with limitations, people are always much more creative and overcome or use those limitations to their advantage. And sometimes create new mechanics and fun things that were really unexpected, or even our team couldn't come up with. So that's always the great surprise about it.
Sure, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because we're very creative, but I don't know if we're very artistic. But
that's a good point.
But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to understand like the boundaries of what you guys created and what we can do with those boundaries, and see if we can like push the boundaries a little bit with like some custom creations that we make. And you know, this is like really exciting for us, because one of the things that we think are going to be successful in the metaverse is the ability to earn either assets or earn cryptocurrency to a certain extent, and that allows us to create a better gaming experience, because that's what's new in the blockchain space, in the gaming space, is that ability to do that. And I think that's how we're going to be able to attract people to start playing these games. So I think that's I like everything that I'm hearing. So what's next for you guys? Like you're gonna do another pre-sale of land, and when is the next phase after the pre-sales are done?
Well, the next major phase for the project is going to provide to this community of landholder and creators the game builder in alpha or beta stage, and they will start building the experience, and people can start seeing the user-generated content experience made by them.
Okay.
And get a more closer idea of what they can experience. Afterwards, there's the introduction of sand tokens in the platform, where the token, ERC20 UT token, will actually be usable. So they have a true utility as a medium of transaction and further like governance, staking related mechanism on Sandbox game platform and curation as well. And from there, launch once we are ready, and we estimate there's enough quality games that can be visited by more the public. So I would define it as like a more general mainstream gamers audience. And the multiplayer features are ready as well. We'll be opening Sandbox platform to everyone, and it will be the beginning of our life story as a metaverse, accessible by anyone.
Help me understand.
More platform like mobile, like being able to play,
gotcha,
create from mobile, and there's more.
Help me understand the. Sure, no, I understand. Help me understand the staking of sand. What's the motivation behind like having players stake sand?
Well, the underlying mechanic of staking sand is making sure that there's these sand are no longer in circulation, so they are actually reducing the supply of sand, and it will potentially have an impact of how users are valuing sand on the platform.
Interesting. Okay.
And why would you like coming from a traditional gaming platform? Probably bought virtual currencies in free-to-play games, and you've let that virtual currency sit for a long time on your wallet. Like as a gamer myself, I'm not trading every day the currency that I own. I actually kind of let it sleep, but we think it could sleep in a more exciting way, and a way that can also have generate an interest. And in Sandbox platform, one of the ways it will generate an interest for the landowner and the players is through the gems mechanism. It is only one of the way. We are also working to see if there's more interesting options that can come through. Yep.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense, because if once you start to stake the sand, like you're saying, it reduces the circulation, which gives people, or it has more value in that sand. And I guess we have to create motivations from a gaming mechanic to stake the sand from a gameplay mechanic. And so each parcel has its own little game, right? It has its user-generated gameplay, essentially.
Yeah, that's the idea. And just to add up regarding the staking mechanisms, that's also regarding the curation systems that we briefly talked about. Staking sand into a land, or whatever the place where you stake sand, it's a way to involve deeper the community and to put money where the mouths are. It's actually like in curation systems, it's quite common, and it's a way to again incentivize people to act and behave in a healthy manner. If they put money at stake and then they vote, they want to behave correctly, so that they don't want to get slashed, and they can potentially get rewards on top of their stakes. So we're thinking also about staking regarding creation mechanisms. I mean, it's still pretty early stage for that, but that could be also a way to see things.
That's fascinating, because now that I'm learning about this and understanding, like in my head, it allows me to think of different game mechanics that I can come up with for our particular land. So Let's see if this makes sense to you guys. So I have land, and I have an idea of a game, and I tell the community about it, and they agree with that idea. So theoretically, the community would stake their sand in my land. Would that be like the first step?
So there's many ways that your community can actually get involved with your ID.
Okay.
They could actually also participate in with you by giving you sand or supporting you to create in your land in real time by in the social multiplayer mode. As they see you build, they can give you sand token to keep on building. That's
Okay.
something that we've seen in so many games which are Twitch based, for example,
Sure.
and sometimes in MMORPGs as well. So that will be some sort of like Patreon like or sponsoring of content creators. Normally, we thought only the landowner could stake sand in his land as a way to promote his game, but it could be interesting to enable like a group of users to support the creator by staking their sand as well.
Okay.
Inside a specific land.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't need. It actually makes sense. So that's a great suggestion. That it's not restricted only to the landowner, but anyone can support a specific game by staking its sand into it.
So okay, so let's say we have the community stake some sand into our land, our concept, our game concept. Will I be able to use this sand for a resource to create, the game itself?
So in that sense, if the sand that is staked is normally supposed to be locked by smart contract. That's the definition of the staking. So it's not like a loan where you can use it yourself to buy asset.
I see.
However, we can have, again, like creators supported by its community. And as you're maybe in a multiplayer mode, as you're starting to create and they show what you create, you can ask your community and followers, look, I need 1,000 sand to buy this asset that I saw on the marketplace and I would like to add. Would you guys be willing to support me and give me that sand? This is my wallet address, or this is my account on Sandbox platform.
Sure.
And if you have established a trust relationship with your community, showing that you're delivering when you request something, I believe they could be supportive to you in that sense.
Okay. And
in the same way, yourself as a game creator, you can use your sand to actually pay for artists that you found on the marketplace to create the desired asset that you will need for your game. If, as you mentioned, you're more of a developer than an artist. So I do believe sand as a utility token will really support the whole the world Sandbox platform in so many aspects that encompass art production, game production, staking, and other mechanisms as well.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I like where this is going because it does bring something new to the table, and it allows us to expand our frame of thought on creating games and incentives to play those games.
Yeah.
Because other metaverses have different rules and restrictions and different gameplay styles, and so the Sandbox brings us something new that we can kind of be creative about. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's and we're essentially game creators. That's what we like to do, and the blockchain allows us to actually make some money with these independent games that we create. And this new capability that you guys are bringing to the table allows us to really think outside the box, essentially. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we really appreciate your time. I know that you guys have probably a million other things to do.
Yeah.
I know that you guys are going to be at the New York City conference on the 20th. We wish we could have been there, but we have other kind of obligations for the 20th.
Yeah.
But we hope to meet you guys in person maybe next year over there or sometime sooner. Mm-hmm. But we want to tell you
sooner. I guess I understand that like the dates collaborate with another public metaverse another metaverse public launch date.
Yeah.
I can guess what it is. If you by any chance in Argentina at that time, well, we have our office there as well. So
Okay.
let me know, and we are more than happy to
thank
show
you.
our offices. If not, well, let's. I hope because we have been really working hard to promote the benefit of blockchain technology for gaming in general and NFTs at various world events. I'm sure we'll see each other before. And I wanted to thank you as well for the great question and some of the suggestions. It's always great to chat with actual creators.
Absolutely.
And exchange the feedback and see where we can potentially improve the way we think or the direction that we take with this feedback.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And, just on a side note, one of our goals is to actually travel and meet our everyone that we talk to on the podcast. So once we head out to Argentina, we'll let you know.
For sure.
Oh, definitely.
And there will be also an event in Paris called EdFici on March 3 to 5th, where we'll have a large gaming track, NFT track, will be speaker, and Nathan is also one of the co-organizers. So you are warmly invited to come in Paris.
Yeah, and we just announced Vitalik is going to be there at HCC, so you should also be there.
Awesome. For sure.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. Sebastien and Nathan, I appreciate your time, and let's meet up and get together and have a beer or something.
Or
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have
Bye-bye.
a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
That was cool. So do you want to recap on after that, or
Yeah, let's recap just a little bit.
So going into that,
I definitely learned a whole lot more. Dude. So let me explain. So Ayman and I spent quite a few hours trying to research Sandbox. Right, we were trying to prepare for this interview.
Yeah,
and when we prepare for an interview, we always have this train of thought that we think this is how the interview is going to go.
Yeah,
and every single time we actually execute on this interview, it goes completely different.
Yeah, that's why we're starting to come to the realization. Just I don't know if off the cuff.
Yeah, off the cuff, ad lib, but we had
a little structure. Yeah, and we didn't even not even close to follow.
But you know what? The structure actually helped because we knew what the structure was, and the natural conversation just started at a different point in that structure.
And it's also because we're actually genuinely interested in this. This reminds me a lot of the podcast we had with Maddie 7 or 8 months ago when we first learned about Decentraland. We just reached out to him because we were desperately
curious.
We needed some more information, so we started YouTubing. Decentraland, and Maddie was the #1 producer of content. So I was like, dude, this is the guy to go to.
Yeah,
we gotta talk to him. And I think that turned out to be one of our more interesting podcasts, just because of the genuine curiosity and desire to learn more. The questions it came out like butter.
It just flowed.
It just flows, right? And I think the same thing happens here for any project that we have a genuine. In our case, we're more than likely we'll get involved at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because like I was saying, the way he was explaining sort of what the boundaries are for the Sandbox, it does bring something new to the table in the sense that with these boundaries, I'll give you the Sandbox and you figure out how to potentially generate some revenue or create a better experience for people, cultivate a community.
Just whatever your heart desires, essentially. But their job is to lay the groundwork, put the tools in place.
Yeah, set up the Sandbox.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
And we know people naturally dude, it's just pure creation, man. You can't help but get like hooked on the tap. I mean, people already are.
Yeah.
From a player perspective, things like Minecraft and Roblox, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes those experiences so addictive. But now you're adding like an actual ownership element to it, where you're actually doing or earning some type of value.
Yeah.
Based on the time you spend. I mean, that's
yeah. No,
to me, that's like a home run hit.
Yes.
But the big question
exactly,
is...
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I used to play a lot of games back in the day, right?
Yeah, before you got like too busy and stuff.
Yeah. But every time I played those games, especially when I was in college and playing Halo and all that, I felt like crap because I felt like I just wasted time, right? Even though it was like entertaining and we were hanging out, it was great. But like, I could have, been doing something constructive. But with this like type of game style, like if you're earning a little bit of money by, creating these, creative like gameplays, like it's different. Like I wouldn't feel that same feeling I had before where I felt like I was sort of like wasting time.
Meaning like after like a weeks of hardcore gaming, like you open your Ethereum wallet and you see the balance has gone up by like $1,000 or something like
exactly.
that. Who the hell wouldn't game?
Exactly.
If you're making $1,000 and like, I mean, that
theoretically.
Theoretically. And maybe like you'll accrue maybe a few $100s in sand by like, I don't know,
winning, playing,
and then you're earning NFTs, I guess, through game experiences too.
Yes,
and then I guess you do your own mental calculations, like, okay, I got this mythic now, and that's worth a few $100.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, we know a couple of people who are earning a living by creating NFTs, and
there's people earning a living trading them, like
trading
Maddie. I think Maddie put out like a report, like he made like $60,000 last year just flipping land or something like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a legitimate income, like a legitimate job.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a real estate today.
Exactly.
I mean, that's essentially what you're doing, but you're doing digitally.
Yeah, which is all awesome.
Yeah, and so, of course, with any interview that we have, there's always like some technical difficulties.
It's true. We haven't broke that streak yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
There's always someone's dropping out, some extra one's dropping in, something like that. I don't know.
No, and in this case, it was like an honest one because I think they had like several computers, and they muted one computer and they were talking in another, but they had the camera going on the muted one, and so when Sebastien was talking, we could see the camera from the other one, which. On Zoom, it doesn't really show that, right? And not until you select a different.
See, but so ideally we want to like meet these people and like have more discussions like that. But I mean, we're not at the point where that's feasible, honestly. Like, I would love to go to Paris, dude. But you know what I mean? We'd have to make some serious personal sacrifices for that interview.
That's
you know
true.
What I mean?
That's true. But it's worth it because first we're genuinely interested, and plus that's how you cultivate a relationship with people.
True.
So it is our goal.
We're gonna have to like hijack a ride on like a cargo plane or something to get over there, like, dude.
Go over there in a box.
Exactly, like ourselves in a box.
Yeah. So that went great. I think I have So what I was saying earlier was we did a lot of research on Sandbox, but we never fully got enough information to where we understood everything that we talked about.
Well, that's why we do this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole point.
That's what I'm saying. Is like
we're getting a lot of feedback from our Decentraland, content, I guess, that people are learning.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
We're learning too. We're learning at the same time as you guys, and
that's my point, is that a lot of the stuff that he talked about, like there's none of that information anywhere.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know a lot of this stuff that he was saying.
Yeah. And it's important. Yeah, because like on the face level, like all these new metaverses coming out, everyone thinks that they're like competing platforms, but at the end of the day, they're really not.
Yeah, they're not.
It's
their own like separate universe.
Yeah, as far as the experience is completely different from Decentraland, but also like the thing that's cool about it is the assets that are generated within each individual metaverse. I guess at some point will be transferable. I mean, they already are transferable from account to account, but meaning like within the metaverse, maybe like one game in the sandbox can use the same, I don't know, weapon or
for sure
gear. But the question I have is, if you transfer one asset from like Decentraland into the sandbox, like how does the artistic process function?
I have questions on that too. I think the NFT is like recognized by Sandbox, but it says, hey, but you have to go and like actually draw it out and do a voxel edit.
You cannot import this asset unless it goes through some type of like
edit.
Maybe there'll be like a committee, like assigned by the DAO. Just their only job is to like.
Well, no. I think if you're importing it, I think you have to
do it yourself. What if you don't know how to use that program?
Well, then you pay somebody to do it. Like if you really want to import that sword that you got in like
into another game.
It's like, well, you got to play by its like looks. Like
it's not going to be like some low poly sword from Decentraland turned in or transferred into Voxelverse or whatever.
That's right. It's not a translation. Yeah. So, you're going to have to draw it out. But at that point, then you change the look. But nonetheless, it's still the same NFT, even though it looks different.
Yeah. No, it's the same thing. It's the same asset.
It's the same asset.
So that's my big. Well, we'll see. Like we're so early in all this, man. Like we're gonna find out, dude. 2 days. 2 days. 2 days, man. We got Decentraland launch in 2 days.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, we got so much shit to do once we wrap this up.
Yeah, we do.
Like now the interview's over. Now we can start thinking about that.
Yeah.
You know, like this is good because we initially thought the Sandbox was launching on the 20th too, but we were totally wrong. Thankfully, they're not.
Yeah, they're not because there would be too many things to do.
Yeah. So we could focus the next couple of days on launch, and then this will probably come out like on the 22nd or something like that. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it just depends on like if we finish everything for Decentraland, then this will be out soon after.
Okay, cool.
But that was a good call. I'm glad they had some time to talk to us, and this has been in the making for a couple of weeks now. So.
Yeah, so I guess like naturally, if you guys listening or want to know more or interact with these guys yourselves, join their Discord.
Yeah, join the Discord. Join our Discord as well, so we can keep in touch.
Yeah, I guess. Like I said, I already have land, so we have potential. I mean, there's not much to do yet,
dude. 100 by 100 meters. That's like 10 parcels in Decentraland, roughly.
You said 100 by 100 meters squared.
100 meters squared.
That can't be right. That sounds so wrong. That's freaking massive.
It is massive.
Yeah,
it's like a 10 by 10 almost in Decentraland.
A 10 by 10?
Yeah, because there's 16 meters.
Oh, you mean like a 10 by 10 estate?
Yeah.
Dude, that's ridiculous. That can't be right.
Yeah, it's huge.
Especially considering the price of it, you know? Only $30 for one parcel?
And not only that, it depends on like what the gameplay assets look like, how big they are. And
it's true.
It could be just like a number. Like
it's all about
it's 100 meters, but it's perspective. Exactly.
Yeah, but like the objects themselves could be like freaking
massive
megas.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see. We'll find out, man.
Yeah.
You know, we'll definitely report back. One day we'll get. I like the see now. We know for certain now their emphasis isn't on like deep hardcore programming.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a no-code gaming platform.
They use that term. That's like a new term that's like populating in the tech world, right?
Exactly.
No code.
Exactly.
Elaborate on that because I hear Oscar talk about that all the time, like no code everything.
So essentially, no code means that back in the day when you created a website, you would have to hard code it.
Yeah.
You would have to actually code it in HTML, and that's how you used to build websites. Now with like Squarespace and Webflow and all these companies, it's basically a drag and drop situation. I mean, obviously Webflow is a far more flexible platform than what Squarespace is.
Yeah.
But both applications are no-code applications. And so you can create apps with no-code idea to it. You're going to be able to create, well, in this case, in Sandbox, you can create a game with no code. So you'll just have to like use the mechanics that they have.
Yeah, and I guess in the beginning it'll be like smart blocks.
Yes.
Kind of like how Minecraft, they have like blocks that have like
functionality.
Yeah, you put them into your creations and then things happen, I guess.
That's right. So, doors open, buttons push, and like things happen.
Start spawning and they start coming at you, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
I like that. Yeah, so they're bringing that aspect to the blockchain where like, absolute no coders like myself, they have an opportunity to create, you know. Like me, I'm at the mercy of Oscar's capabilities because I cannot touch that SDK. Like, there's no way
to save your
it's
life.
Not happening for me, bro. So, if I really wanted to, I could come to this universe or metaverse and spend maybe a few hours learning the Voxel create system.
Yeah, that's true.
And just do it myself.
That's true.
You
would be able to. You'd probably have an easier time creating a ghost.
That's right.
In voxel art than
if you go to our
Blender.
If you go to our pack runner, the ghost I actually created.
That's
right. Straight from
From nothing.
by accident. Like you start off with a little sphere and Blender. I was just poking at it until something that looked like a ghost showed up.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like, dude, this is good enough. Let's just put it in. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But that was way more complicated than this. You know,
Yeah,
this
for
is way
sure.
cooler. So yeah, I'm excited to see this whole no code thing show up and see like how well it gets adopted
And as you can see, like in this map here, in this map, this is like the top half of the center, right? We got the other bottom half of the center. So
yeah.
So
pretty
for
much.
the next sales, you know, they're gonna be down here, dude. In
Probably. There's probably gonna be two more sales, right?
Two more sales.
They would just to solidify the center.
Yeah. So once they launch, I mean, we want to get like I
A
don't know,
big
along this
motherfucker.
area.
We should get like a big one, like a
Something like
something
that.
Yeah.
I mean that's a beast. If each parcel's 100 meters squared,
How many parcels is that? Can you click on it?
yeah,
I bet you it's like 12 or something.
36.
What the hell, dude? $1,000? Damn. All right, we'll start playing our games when we can afford this, boys. You know,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
that way we can make some block runner games in the sandbox, dude. That'd be so cool.
Hell yeah.
I'm curious to see if we could pull that off, just as a challenge.
Yeah.
You know,
I totally agree.
that would be amazing if we could. I mean, so
Yeah, so these blocks here, so we have green.
yeah, I'm still not 100% sure.
Yeah, like what does this mean?
I asked him. I think we kind of got like an answer, but I know in their previous games, like, you know, like their mobile game, it's like you're playing God in a way, and then you like introduce water into the world you're creating. Like your job as the player is just you're creating your own world, so you have to start from the very beginning with like creating elements like sand. I mean, sand's not an element, but you have to create sand by putting water on top of stone and waiting for the sand, you know, to produce. Things
Yeah,
like that.
it
I
seems to me like, let's say there was some resource that comes from water, but because you have 36 parcels, you have 36 times the resource of that water. And
But
then
the thing is, like, they all have the same, right?
well, they all have the same, but I'm saying this guy that has one parcel has only one chance to get that water resource.
I suppose. Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is. I'm
Well,
just speculating.
Yeah. But I think that's probably like something they're gonna really expand on later on down the road.
Yeah.
You know, because right now it's just
Look at the assets that this guy owns. He owns.
that's one of the golems. There's
Yeah.
only two of those. So click on it. And this is what I was asking him. See, somebody spent a lot of time creating that because it's very
look at
detailed.
this.
Oh, see, I never noticed this. They had the attributes. Main is defense. So what is? So you can like.
So there's elements to this game called magic, speed, luck, defense, and power. So the game mechanics in Sandbox revolve around the interaction of assets that have different degrees of attributes.
I mean, think of it like axes battling each other. Essentially,
Yeah.
axes have their own like attack power and critical damage and stuff like that. I think this is for like, you know, combat mechanics. So now
Yeah.
you now potentially here you have like a world boss that people can come and, you know, fight and kill and potentially like earn
Yeah.
sand for killing, or maybe like some type of another NFT.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's a gaming asset. You know, just like, imagine that thing in World of Warcraft. They had things like that all over WoW, like just giant roaming monsters. They're called world bosses, and you would go. They would spawn on occasion, and people would run to them, and
Yeah.
whoever killed it first got the reward.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, like a guild would get together. Like, so I think that's actually awesome now that I think about it. The fact there's only two of those, that's exactly what that could be used for. Just like
Right.
a random spawn on like a timer, and like once it goes off, whoever gets to it first, like as a guild,
Yeah.
and kills it, you get like a real nice reward
Yeah.
to do that.
Like sand or gems.
Whatever. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And of course, like anything that like, and through this interview, they really emphasize like how they want to incorporate like multiple MMO elements into this world. Anything that's doing that, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already in.
Exactly.
I'm so in.
Yeah, especially for the grinders out there.
Yeah. Well, just the social aspect too. Like it's just fun, like finding, you know, doing things together as like a
Yeah.
guild or a group or clan, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Anytime you
gang?
get, there you go, doing some gang shit. Anytime you get more than 5 people together to do something, for one, it's hard to coordinate to get like people like to get on at the same time, and in order to do that, like there has to be a serious reward, some serious incentive action going on.
I know I'm amazed that we've done 51 of these consistently.
Oh, you're talking about the podcast?
The podcast, yeah.
Yeah, even that. Yeah. But yeah, this is awesome stuff. But yeah, let's call it there.
Yeah, let's call it. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and we learned a little bit about Sandbox. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner, and join our Discord. Join their Discord as well. I'll have all the links in the description as well.
Be sure,
the Decentraland launch is on the 20th.
Yeah, either this will come before or after, but either way, it's a 4-day launch event. So
that's true.
Just jump in at any time and start collecting your NFTs and start experiencing the world and come see our games, all that cool stuff.
Yeah,
you'll see us in there, and then if you do, just throw us a wave. You can literally do that now.
Yeah.
Just give us a nice little wave.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
All right, we're out. Peace.